Do you identify with that self-expression and Tourette's being connected?
I like creating a full atmosphere. Dingy, horrible, absinthe, opium-soaked, dirty little cabaret, and we're going to see unspeakable things we can never tell anyone about.
Do you see a lot of neurodivergence in drag, burlesque, cabaret in your world?
Absolutely.
Okay. How many instruments do you play?
Anything with a keyboard. Theremin I'm dreadful at, but I've got one.
Any Gregorian chanting? I'm a big fan of that. Today's guest is a true entertainment maverick. The dark cabaret sensation and musical comedy misfit Joe Black. You may know him from RuPaul's Drag Race or as a Weimar sex clown. For over a decade, Joe has held the spotlight in the dark cabaret scene, taking audiences on a journey through the strange and downright peculiar. It's a performance you really won't forget. We stepped off the stage to talk Tourette's and what makes him tick. Let's get into it and see how great minds think differently. Joe, welcome to the Hidden 20%. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's a delight to be here.
Yeah.
I've looked at the shelf of the spicy
Neuro-spicy cabinet.
Neuro-spicy cabinet, and I have learnt today that Anthony Hopkins is autistic.
Yeah.
And there he is.
He is. And
That's
this cabinet is, I guess, there to show some of the amazing contributions of things and people that maybe you didn't know about. And that I definitely didn't know about.
Well, I didn't know Billie Eilish had Tourette's.
Yeah. Tell me about Tourette's.
Well, as a child, I was told that I was just nervous. That was the thing. It was, they were like, oh, it's just a nervous twitch. But there's, something about someone going, why are you nervous? Stop being nervous. Why are you nervous? You're twitching because you're nervous. It makes you more
nervous.
And then, getting a bit older and sort of doctors going, no, this is Tourette's. I can't remember when Pete Bennett was on Big Brother, but it was a while ago. Mm-hmm. But my understanding of Tourette's was it was someone shouting wanker and swear words and bird whistles and sort of completely life-disrupting public disorder.
Yes.
That. But, as a kid, I was just told I was nervous. It's a nervous twitch. And, there's nothing that's going to make you more nervous than someone
telling you.
Keep telling you that you're nervous. Stop being nervous. That's why you got the twitch. And then a doctor was like, oh, it's Tourette's.
And so how old were you then?
So I maybe like 9, 10.
Okay. What support did you get post someone telling you that?
I don't really remember support. It was just like cool, that's a thing. So it was just like a knowing. And then if people say, well, why do you do that? I was like, oh, it's Tourette's. And then we go, oh, but isn't that, calling someone a wanker and whistling like a bird? Mine is blinking.
Okay.
So I hold a blink.
Yep.
I go and do this noise. And it's going to happen more now because I'm talking about it. And it gets really involved when it's like, it's worse when you're with other people with Tourette's because also you become really, really hyper aware.
Yes.
So, in a weird twist of fate, I actually know Pete Bennett now because we both live in Brighton.
Okay. And
whenever we see each other, it's just becomes this, it's the word cavalcade of noise. And obviously Pete's is a little more extreme than mine. But they also, it's weird that mine's kind of shifted and changed over the years as well. So the blinking thing, the ones that are currently still there for a little while, and I don't know why it disappeared, I don't know why it started, I winked.
Okay.
But I'm not very good at winking when I'm trying to do it. So it was like this. But then, walking down the street and you just winking at people. And that's a little more disruptive maybe to the day-to-day life. But the sort of big thing with it is that because of the understanding of it, sometimes people don't believe me. They actually just think I'm on drugs.
Okay.
Which is the sniffing in particular is that in kind of nightlife and stuff, people have just assumed that I am on cocaine.
So you and a lot of your work, I am guessing and assuming, performing, happens in the evenings.
Yes. So it's not like someone's calling the police and having me going, he's got cocaine backstage, this is my show. It's not that, but it's just people going like, hey, you got anything you want to share? I'm like, no, it's a condition.
And then when you say no, I've got Tourette's or whatever you say,
they think I'm joking.
They think you're joking.
Yeah.
It's funny, people gloss over, not that I tell lots of people that I'm autistic, but when it does make sense to, people either laugh, because a bit like you, they think I'm joking. It's sort of like a saying of like, oh, I'm a little bit autistic. I'm not sure people know how to deal with that information, right?
But also, is there, with autism, is there, like the Tourette's thing where it's the extreme examples are the ones that are highlighted in media? It's with autism, it's sort of, is it Rain Man and kind of really specific cases?
Yes. Yeah, it seems like the extremities of, dyslexia, ADHD, autism, Tourette's, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, that kind of segment, it's either we don't know about any of them, like dyspraxia, for example, not widely known about, or we know about the extremities of them.
It's like going, right, Tourette's, you swear. Autism, you're very clever, but socially inept.
Yep.
You can't read a word.
You're rubbish at numbers.
Yep.
You're hyperactive. And job done.
Yep.
And it's like we're talking about 20% of the population. Like, we're not talking about a tiny little number. Like, 20% of people are neurodivergent across the world. It's like, you're going to run into them. Sorry.
Yep. And
we're here.
Whether you realise it or not. Again, like I said, I didn't know Anthony Hopkins was autistic.
Yep.
I just thought he was a fantastic Welsh actor, fantastic pianist,
Yes.
Hilarious on social media. Again, didn't know about Billie Eilish, but I usually clock it with people, Tourette's, actually.
Okay.
I'm actually thrilled when I meet someone with Tourette's because it doesn't happen that often. And I remember, so the last tour I did, I was in Newcastle and I was just doing I had a day off and I was just hopping to all the different gay bars because I love attention and gay famous. I've got to take it where I can. There was someone in a friend group that I was like looking at her. I was like, oh, she's got Tourette's. And I was like, you have Tourette's? She was like, yes. And I went, I have Tourette's. And suddenly we were just bonding about it. But there wasn't really much to say other than just sort of going, we have Tourette's at each other. But I'd had a few drinks by this point.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh, come here. And I felt weirdly attached to them. But I really latched onto that. And it was delightful. And the thing with, on Drag Race, they didn't bring it up whatsoever. They said to me, would you be happy to talk about it? And I was like, yeah, of course. Reality TV is not necessarily the arena for well-balanced conversation. They generally want the extremes of something. So
it's entertainment, right? I guess that's what...
So, in the case of Drag Race, they've previously had Jinx Monsoon was on with narcolepsy, but they made it seem like Jinx was falling asleep at every single moment. And the reality is they're not. But there was no point for the producers, I'm sure, to go, we have someone with narcolepsy. Oh, they're a little bit tired. They might need to take a short nap. That's not funny.
So you blinking and sniffing and not enough.
I just don't think it's interesting enough for them because I'm not being embarrassing. I think is the thing is that the reality TV is not that interested in it. I think the other examples I can think of Tourette's with media other than Pete. There was someone on the Undateables that had Tourette's, and again it was quite an extreme case of it. And on a show about how you will never find love.
Yes.
So they're like, oh, let's put all of what they would consider the misfits. Reality TV in general, I think, is very cruel.
Mm-hmm. Would you go on reality TV again?
No. I wouldn't do Drag Race again.
Yeah.
But I did Celebrity Coach Trip Halloween special.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, I don't think anyone did. I don't think anyone really watched it. God bless. If anyone involved is listening to this, which I'm sure you are, I loved it. No, I did. I loved that. It wasn't.
Tell me what happens. You go on a coach.
It was coach trip, but it was like spooky themed.
Okay.
And it was just that moment of getting on. You don't know who else is on there. And there's just something surreal about walking on and seeing Kerry Katona and realising we've both been booked for the same job. That sort of reality, that was really fun.
Okay.
That was, I really enjoyed that. But that was a platform that was it's just meant to be very silly.
Yes.
They weren't trying to get deeper, darker things from it. In fact, I got a bit, the only time I got a bit wound up on it was they took everyone to see a medium. But everyone involved will have as much as a Wikipedia page, right? So when you go in there and you've got someone... I see where you're
heading with this.
And the guy looks at someone and says, you've lost someone very close to you. I see cancer, I see a hospital. And then all you need to do is Google person's name,
Wikipedia
recent
page.
death, and it will be horrible right-wing rag articles about how their life has unraveled because they've lost the most important person in their life. And then that medium was exploiting that. And then because mine doesn't necessarily have a lot on it, and we were fairly fresh off Drag Race, he just came up to me and he went, I sense Brighton, which just on Wikipedia it's like location Brighton. That's it. That's all he had. But that was kind of the nasty bit of the reality TV for me, because all I did was, again, because it's meant to be quite light, I'd like look dead into the camera and be like that, and all the camera guys were like, because I was just not looking at the medium and just stared dead into the camera.
Thinking about Wikipedia.
Yeah, just thinking about how Wikipedia has given this man his psychic powers.
Do people ask you, I mean, let's take that show, for example. Do people ask you if you're okay because of your tics?
Oh, yeah. Are you all right?
In a different, not how I am.
I remember a particular instance in Portugal where I just finished a show and someone was like genuinely worried for my well-being. I was like, no, I'm fine. No, are you sure? Are you sure? Yeah, absolutely fine. And they just wouldn't let it go and was just convinced that something was like horribly wrong with me and that you must see a doctor. Yeah. And I eventually had to be like, please stop.
Yes.
This is just my day to day. But I've got sort of same circle of friends I've had for a long time. We're all very used to it.
Yep.
And it will only, if it comes up and if people are sort of trying to be a bit polite, do you know what I mean? So meeting someone and they're not going to go, so what's going on here? What's all this? And they were like, oh, I thought you just had a cold. Or I thought, you smoke quite a lot of cigarettes, don't you? It's just like a smoker's cough. I always, when you watch horror films and someone's trying so desperate to be quiet, I think every time it happens and someone's like in a cupboard like, like that, I was like, oh, I'd be fucked in this situation, wouldn't I? As like Jason Voorhees goes past the cupboard and I'm like like this. In fact, this morning I was on a very quiet commuter train and you become very aware of those little moments. You're like, this is pin drops.
Yes.
Hospital waiting rooms. Not that I'm in the hospital very often,
You're clearly, incredibly creative, incredibly, right-brained, as I would call it, and you're a wonderful musician, and you've got this wonderful creative outlet and self-expression, which is an amazing example to so many people. Do you identify with that self-expression and Tourette's being connected?
Firstly, thank you. Lovely words. I don't know, it's just sort of there for me. Like, I sometimes forget I have it. Was it Gareth Gates who had there was like a speech?
The stutter.
The stutter,
Yes.
It wasn't a speech impediment, it was a stutter. And then it didn't happen when he sang.
Yep.
And again, not exactly the same thing, but I don't notice it on the stage happening to me. Maybe it is. I mean, I don't make a habit of necessarily rewatching my whole shows back because that's really painful to have to look at yourself and be like, I could have done that better. But it doesn't feel like it's there then. Maybe, I mean, it's certainly not there in songs, maybe when I'm talking or just sort of milling around if I'm walking over to get a glass of water between a song or I'm telling a story or something. But it, I mean, maybe in a way I want it to be visible on stage, that'd be quite nice. But and then, again, someone in that audience will go...
Because it's the representation, right? It's people being able to see that it's okay and that, you know, wow, what an amazing performer. And there's hope and there's optimism definitely within that.
It's weird because obviously with a platform like Drag Race, you get a lot of sort of young queer kids being like, thank you for, you know, being you know, giving me the strength. Those like really lovely messages. If I get a message saying my son has come out as gay or non-binary or queer or whatever, thank you for inspiring him. You know, get a lot of that sort of thing. You go, thank you very much, an honour, you know. But if I get the Tourette's ones, that's when I'll be like, now listen here.
Okay.
It is a joy to represent you. Please come here. We shall have tea. We shall dine together. There's something about that makes me more like, come here, come here.
Why do you think that is?
There's a lot of good queer rep in media, which is lovely. Because there wasn't always.
Sure.
And long may it continue. But there's not for, you know, different... the various neurodivergence types and things that... It can maybe even just kick off someone's journey or something. With the Tourette's thing, it could be... They go, oh, cool, they've got it. That's great. And then maybe that, in a small way, makes them feel more... confident about it, so it might be as simple as then they just carry on with their life.
Exactly, but I think feeling seen or heard, you know, can be just so incredibly powerful. And I, you know, there's a reason why we've called it the hidden 20%, I guess, because it doesn't feel like that's seen enough. You know, for Thomas the Tank Engine to have now an autistic boy play a character. You know, that's like welling up shit for me. You know, that's so, you know, that's so incredible. And so it's just, it's more of the bits and pieces that are going on that I think then, like you say, then you get people who are younger and a younger generation going, it's okay. This is okay. I can ultimately... all I want and the only goal is like just be yourself, and you don't need to hide stuff.
But this is why, you know, Sex Education as an example. Have you seen it on Netflix?
No, I haven't seen it.
In the last season, there's someone who's deaf, and there's meant just little bits of look at me when you're talking, little that. There's not some big, terrible, tragic, this is how they lost their hearing. It's just a matter of fact in there.
Yep.
And then I always find it really frustrating when you get these people going, they're forcing diversity on us. It's like, it's a character that, well, the actress is deaf.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and all that does is just, there's some deaf kid that's watching it that goes, oh, that's me. And it wasn't portrayed as dramatic and horrible and she's
more
terribly
normal.
Struggling. Yeah. It was, I mean, this with queer representation now being a lot nicer, what it will be before is like you see someone pop up and you're like, well, they're going to get murdered or die of AIDS. It was generally would be happening in the stories. Do you know what I mean? Now there's just pleasant
Yeah.
Just there we are, normal people on the LGBTQI plus.
Do you see a lot of neurodivergence in the drag, burlesque, cabaret in your world?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think, it attracts a certain kind of people. And it's, I also live in Brighton. Do you know what I mean? If someone is not a neurodivergent, non-binary drag creature, then they've just got to move to Shoreham. And I think it's because it attracts a certain kind of people, and particularly people that are quite good at it, because I guess it's a different kind of focus. I think it's naturally creative people.
Yes.
There's an excellence that seems to be attached to it. And maybe it's just how the brain is wired. But also that might also be one of those things that's like a misunderstanding, where there'll be someone who's like, well, I'm actually excellent at nothing, but I am severely autistic,
Yeah.
That might be another one of those.
Yes, it doesn't have to be the superpower narrative of what's your special skill.
People can just be plain.
People. Yes.
They can be unremarkable. What a horrible thing to say.
But what does kind of you putting on a costume and performing and dressing differently, what does that do for you? What does that feel like?
I like creating a full atmosphere. So I run a variety show in Brighton called Kleinest Cabaret, which just means small cabaret. And everything from the moment people walk in, we've got this kind of bizarre klezmer music playing in the background.
What's klezmer music?
Klezmer is like Jewish sort of folk.
Okay.
Traditional music. So it's lots of like clarinets and just sounds like a Jewish wedding, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? That kind of thing, because it's, a lot of the great creative minds in Weimar, Berlin, were of Jewish origin. So it was a way of kind of giving a nod to that and having that kind of energy as you walked in the room, and it's all green and smoky, and there's a big sort of faux metal sign that says cabaret, but with a K, because it's in German, Kabarett. And it's creating that world, and there's something about how I construct myself that I want to be an extension of that vibe, that atmosphere. So I want to look away that evokes I need people to look at me and go, the year is 1926. We are in some dingy, horrible, absinthe, opium-soaked, dirty little cabaret, and we're going to see unspeakable things we can never tell anyone about.
Yes.
That's what I want to look like.
Yeah. And what do you want people to take away?
It's that kind of, to quote Cabaret the musical, leave your troubles outside.
Okay.
That I want to create that little atmosphere, that bubble of just, you come in, as we have no problems here. And just for that hour or two, or whatever it is, people are transported. And again, what's nice about variety shows is representation in different ways. But people will see, different body shapes and styles and, personal styles and skin colours and just all these beautiful different people doing wonderful things. And you get it particularly with, say, like plus size people in burlesque. There may be someone in the audience that is plus size, and they see someone on stage who is of a fuller figure and go, my God, I could do that too. And that gives a little spark to their life as well.
And what do you like? What do you want to do with it? Or where do you think it's going to go? How's it changing that kind of that world of performing?
It's strange. With variety shows tend to do well during times of economic crisis.
Okay.
There was a big burlesque boom, so it kind of feeds into that kind of art shall prevail in times of strife.
Yes.
Thing. With the variety shows, it's strange where I don't really know where it can go, other than just exist for that moment in time. Yeah, you can go to bigger venues. You can book surprise, wonderful guest acts that's going to blow everyone's mind. But after that's night's done, it's done. Which is part of the joy of performing, but also the sad bit is that you do that show and then that's it.
Yeah.
It existed for that moment in time.
Yes.
But it's a nice shared experience.
Yes.
With those people. I mean, with like, where do you want it to go in terms of performance? Again, yeah, it could just be like bigger venues, you know, better stages, more lights, more people in the room, more money, you know, more production,
yes,
fireworks, fire. But with the variety shows that I started doing, I specifically went smaller, which is why it's called Kleines Cabaret, because it then exists in this strange little small bubble and can tick over. But if you get bigger, it's, you know, things then can burn out.
Yes.
As well. So if you know, stay small, let it be, you know, let it sell out and just keep making this little special thing for people. Because greed will kill us all eventually.
Yeah, too easy.
I could have gone to a venue twice the size. If I sold that out, then I could have gone on to twice the size of that. And eventually people will go, cool, yeah, we've all seen it now. That's that.
I just want to talk about music for a second. How many instruments do you play?
Oh, God. A lot, not very well. The accordion, piano, and ukulele is kind of
your core three.
Yeah, my core three. But then I can do, it's like musical soul, anything with a keyboard.
Let's just say that again because it sounds such a wonderful
soul.
turn of phrase. Musical soul.
You know what they sound like?
Yeah,
like
I do.
Theremins,
yes.
Strange, very dangerous because it's a saw. Yeah, theremin I'm dreadful at, but I've got one.
What's the theremin?
A theremin's the kind of sci-fi.
Oh, yes. Yes.
They are so hard to play. That's a muso instrument. That's something someone plays where they dedicate their life to that. Or they can play, if people can play violin, they tend to be all right at it, but I can't play violin. And it's a weird one where I'm not a keen musician in that I'm not sat there twiddling away and trying to make the most interesting thing. I like making vibes. I'm not trying to play Flight of the Bumblebee, and I'm never going to want to play because that's other people do that.
Yep.
I want to sit there and have an idea and just sort of draw up these chords and try to figure out how I make that, you know, that Aurora song sound like a sea shanty, or I take Amy Winehouse and make it into a polka. I'm much more interested in that, in twisting and making things into these funny little moments or sad little. I have two modes with shows where I will either make something funny or I make it very sad.
Any Gregorian chanting?
Oh, I wish.
Because I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of that.
That kind of,
I love hearing you describe how you can basically, like you say, conduct an experience for people so that they're happy at the right moments, they're sad at the right moments, they're up, down, end on a high, etc. What journey do you think we need to take people on with Tourette's?
Surely the way of doing it would be just, you know, for people to do whatever it is they do, but that is just there.
Yeah.
In that it is just a fact that, you know, whether it's a comedian or a singer or a storyteller, poet, whatever, that it is just a matter of fact that it's there. I might be incorrect in my memory, so I'm not massively familiar with Lewis Capaldi, but Lewis Capaldi has Tourette's.
Correct.
Was there a moment at Glastonbury where they had like a moment where they couldn't sing the song and the audience sang the song and held them in that moment?
Exactly.
So maybe that's the thing, is that it exists and that people are aware it exists and that they're happy to, I don't want to say pick up the pieces because that sounds like someone's falling apart, but just kind of go, we got you. And in regards to other neurodivergent traits, you know, someone with autism that, you know, things are a particular way to make them feel comfortable, just do, you know, they can let you know that they need that thing. it's not a problem.
No,
But-
it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It shouldn't be a problem. And no matter, like, everybody on this planet, I'm sure has their own things that they like, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is a universal truth. I guess with neurodivergence, it's some of those go, to being held onto really tightly, and some of those are, topics or interests of incredible importance and huge amounts of fascination and interest. Whereas other people might not be as interested in them. They might like this band, but they haven't been up and down the country to see them and know every single thing about them.
But there's also a balance there, because it could also, I'm sure it's happened to you, I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people listening to this, where it oversteps the mark into babying.
Yes.
Or treating you with special gloves, to the point of perhaps feeling offensive. I guess it risks going into someone has a room with some, pleasant paintings in it with some fidget spinners and goes, "We've solved that.
Yes.
Here, have a stress ball. Now, off."
And it's really difficult because, everyone has their individual. Everyone on the planet is an individual, and no two brains are the same. Full stop. Neurodivergent or not. And so everyone's an individual. Yet the risk or the danger, I think, with neurodivergence is that there's, okay, we know about autism now, and we know about ADHD, and we know about dyslexia. Okay, cool. You guys just go over there, and there's a school or there's a club, or you guys just go over there, and we'll get on our merry way. But we know what you are now.
And also all lumped together as well.
Yes. Rather than everything just being integrated and normalized. And maybe I'm totally rose-tinted, kind of idealized views on this, but I do feel like the goal is that it's okay to be how you are, and we don't have this loaded stigma attached to it.
I don't think it's rose-tinted to say that people should be just accepted into society. That's just it. Not you go sit in your cave. With your Tourette's tics. You go sit in the cave. Let's not disturb anyone else.
In the Tourette's zoo over there.
Yeah. So everyone can come look at you and go, "Oh, he blinks, doesn't he?"
It's an endangered species right here.
I don't know do you know what the statistics are? Because I don't.
Of
how many people have Tourette's?
I think it's less than 1% in the UK, same as autism.
Huh? My God, I am a statistic.
If I could just give you the floor or the seat or the soapbox again, Joe, what would you like to say about Tourette's?
Knowing it didn't change my life dramatically, but that's not the case for everybody. And if you do have it, please message me on Instagram, because I just, again, I get thrilled with these. And if anyone asks you if you're on drugs, just say yes.
Joe Black, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.